When you're gearing up for the real estate exam, some topics, well, they really stand out. Not just because they pop up often, but because, honestly, they carry some serious liability in your future career.
Mm-hmm.
So today, we're going to try and cut through the complexity of one of those real must-know concepts, dual agency.
Yeah, it sounds technical, but it's a bit of a legal minefield, really.
Well,
And, some folks might joke about it being like a spy thriller, but the reality,
plus less glamorous.
way less glamorous. But mastering the rules of dual agency is absolutely critical. For passing the test, yes, but also for practicing ethically down the line.
Right. This is the Real Estate Exam Deep Dive by Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition. And our mission today is pretty laser-focused.
Yep.
We're breaking down what dual agency actually is, how it gets formed, and there are two main ways, which seem to trip up a lot of test takers.
Oh, definitely. That second way especially.
And also why it basically strips an agent of their power to really advocate for either client involved.
Exactly. We'll dig into those universal principles, things like the conflict of interest, the need for disclosure, and this concept of neutrality.
Yeah.
Because even though state laws can differ quite a bit.
Some states even ban it, right?
That's right. Some ban it completely. But you still have to understand the core legal structure for the exam. That's non-negotiable.
Okay, let's start simple then. What's the most basic, fundamental definition of dual agency we can give?
Okay, at its absolute core, dual agency happens when the buyer and the seller in the same deal are both legally represented by the same real estate broker.
The broker.
That common umbrella, that broker being the same entity for both sides. That is the absolute key.
Got it. And the way this usually happens, the most common scenario, is that classic sort of walk-in buyer situation. Like a buyer spots a for sale sign. They call the agent listed there, who's the seller's agent, obviously.
Right. Your listing agent.
And they just decide, hey, I want to make an offer, often without even thinking about getting their own agent first.
That is the classic setup. The second that buyer asks the listing agent, hey, can you write up this offer for me and send it over?
Yeah.
Well, they're essentially asking that agent, and really by extension the agent's broker, to represent them too. And bam, suddenly that agent is wearing two hats.
And that immediately lights up the big flashing sign, conflict of interest. Because the standard relationship, the normal agency relationship, requires something much stronger than just, being helpful. It requires fiduciary duty.
Right. And that term fiduciary, you absolutely have to etch that into your brain for this test. It signifies the highest possible level of trust and legal obligation.
Okay.
It means the agent owes their client complete loyalty. They have to put that client's interests way above everyone else's, including their own, actually.
Wow.
And fight just for that one client's best outcome.
Okay, but hang on. If I'm legally tied to the seller, trying to get them the highest price, and at the same time, I'm legally tied to the buyer, trying to get them the lowest price, how on earth can I possibly maintain that loyalty? It seems impossible.
Well, that's the conflict right there. You can't. Legally, the consequence of that split loyalty is, well, you have to ditch that specific duty of loyalty for both parties.
You just drop it.
You have to. Think about that analogy, the one about the parent and the cookie.
Oh, yeah.
You're the parent, the agent. You get two kids, the buyer and seller. Both want the last cookie. You just cannot favor one kid over the other without breaking your promise, your loyalty to the other one. Puts you in an impossible spot.
That ethical bind is really clear.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's shift from the sort of ethical dilemma to the practical legal side. When that loyalty is split, what happens? The agent goes from being an advocate to what?
A facilitator?
Pretty much, yeah. That's a good way to put it. When you're a dual agent, you just can't use your professional judgment to specifically help one side win, so to speak.
Your whole job description kind of shifts. Becomes about managing the paperwork, making sure the transaction moves forward, and ensuring all the material facts about the property get disclosed properly.
So no more strategic advice.
Nope. The minute you start whispering to the buyer, hey, I think they'd probably take less.
Uh-huh.
Or you nudge the seller, you could probably ask for more.
Yeah.
Boom, you've just violated that neutral position. And you, and importantly, your broker, are looking at some serious liability.
Okay, that first scenario, one agent, two clients, that seems relatively easy to spot, I guess.
Easily, yeah.
But it gets way more complicated, doesn't it? And this is probably where the exam really tries to separate the prepared students when the deal involves two totally separate agents.
Ah, yes. This is the distinction you absolutely positively must master for the exam. It trips so many people up.
Okay.
Dual agency isn't just when one person handles everything. It also happens when you have two agents, let's call them Agent A and Agent B, working on opposite sides of the deal.
One for the buyer, one for the seller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, and this is the big badger, they both work for the same brokerage firm.
Okay, hold on. Why does that matter? If Agent A is negotiating hard for the seller, and Agent B is fighting for the buyer, and they're sitting across the table, how is that dual agency? They seem like adversaries.
Passing the real estate exam can be hard, like really hard. Statistically, only about 50% of people actually pass the real estate exam on their first try. Those people that pass, they go on to become real estate agents. And the people that didn't pass, yeah, they either give up completely or have to try again. Both of these options are painful, disappointing, and upsetting. Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition has been named as the best real estate exam prep by multiple publications for 7 years in a row. If you are about to take the real estate exam, Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition is a no-brainer choice. There is no other real estate exam preparation service out there that comes close. To enjoy the longest membership time, lowest cost, real estate videos, audios, articles, flashcards, vocabulary, exam tips and tricks, a 1-year no questions asked refund policy, and be one of the 35,000 people that it has helped pass the real estate exam, then sign up in less than 5 minutes at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
It's because of who the client actually hires.
Wow.
Legally speaking, the client isn't hiring Agent A or Agent B directly. They are hiring the brokerage.
Okay.
The legal relationship, the contract, is between the client, seller, or buyer and the broker. Just think about the paperwork you sign.
The listing agreement.
Right. The listing agreement is a contract between the seller and the brokerage. And the buyer brokerage agreement, same thing. It's between the buyer and that same brokerage.
Got it. So even if Agent A and Agent B are kept totally separate, maybe they don't even share office space.
Doesn't matter.
The entity at the very top, the broker, is legally representing two opposing interests in the same transaction.
That is precisely it. And you see how that brings the legal liability right back to the broker. And think about the money, too. When the commission gets paid, who gets the check?
The brokerage.
The brokerage. It flows through the broker, who then shares it out with the agents involved. So that financial link, combined with the legal contracts, means the broker is ultimately responsible for managing this built-in conflict when two of their agents are on opposite sides.
Okay, that makes the two-agent scenario much, much clearer. So, quick example. Agent Tina works for Mega Brokerage Realty. She lists a house. Then Agent Bob, also from Mega Brokerage Realty, brings a buyer who wants that house.
Boom. Dual agency.
Because Mega Brokerage Realty is legally representing both the buyer and the seller.
You got it. It's that highest common denominator, the broker, that defines the agency relationship here. Nailing that distinction down is just indispensable for passing your exam.
Now, this complexity, it's probably why some states, even if they allow dual agency, have this other concept, right? Something called designated agency. Can you just quickly contrast that for us? Because that sounds similar but different.
Yeah, good point. Designated agency often pops up in places that do allow dual agency.
Yeah.
It's basically an attempt to kind of lessen the conflict.
How does it work?
Well, under designated agency, even though the broker still legally represents both sides, that doesn't change.
Okay.
The broker can designate Agent A to only represent the seller and Agent B to only represent the buyer exclusively.
So the individual agents can then go back to having that full fiduciary duty, loyalty, price advice, the whole thing.
Pretty much, yes. They act as these designated advocates for their specific client, even though they're in the same firm. But here's the catch.
There's always a catch.
Always. The broker still has to remain neutral and oversee everything very carefully, because technically the broker is still the dual agent at the top level.
Right.
So it's a workaround, a common one. But it only exists if the state law specifically carves out that exception to the standard dual agency rules. You can't just decide to do it.
Understood. Okay, let's pivot now to maybe the most crucial part for the exam, the rules. The restrictions that kick in when dual agency is actually allowed. Since the conflict is so baked in, what specific safeguards are required?
Protection really starts with transparency. Rule number 1, absolutely non-negotiable. Mandatory disclosure, meaning the agent must inform both the buyer and the seller explicitly in writing that a dual agency situation exists. And critically, both parties have to sign off, acknowledging they understand.
No signature, no deal.
No signature, no dual agency.
Yeah.
You cannot proceed as a dual agent without that written consent from both sides, period.
Okay. And once you have that written consent, the agent's job description changes instantly.
Yeah.
Right? Their main duty flips from loyalty to, what did you call it? Neutrality.
Absolute neutrality.
Yeah.
That becomes the guiding principle. Yes, they still have to treat both parties with fairness and honesty. And yes, they still have that crucial duty of providing full disclosure about the property itself, any material defects, things like that.
But the loyalty part.
That's the moment of truth. That specific fiduciary duty of loyalty is completely terminated. Gone.
Yeah.
And we need to be really clear about what information the agent is then legally forbidden from sharing.
Okay, give us some examples. What's off limits?
Basically anything that could compromise one party's bargaining position if the other side knew it.
Like?
Okay, for the seller, you cannot reveal their absolute bottom line price, the lowest they'd secretly accept.
Right.
Or why they're selling if it's something sensitive like facing foreclosure or a sudden job relocation forcing a quick sale. That motivation is confidential.
And for the buyer?
Same idea.
Yeah.
You can't reveal their top dollar, the absolute maximum they'd be willing to pay.
Yeah.
Or maybe sensitive details about their finances or how badly they want this specific house.
So if the buyer blurts out to the dual agent, oh my gosh, I love this place. I'd totally pay another $50,000 if I have to.
Oh.
The agent absolutely cannot hint at that willingness when talking to the seller.
Cannot. That is the bright line. The agent becomes a vault for that kind of confidential, motivating information. But probably the most critical point, the one tested constantly, often word for word.
Let me guess. Price advice.
You got it. The dual agent cannot advise either the buyer or the seller on the price they should offer or the price they should accept.
None of it horrid.
Zero. Their role is strictly to relay the offers and counteroffers back and forth, neutrally, like a messenger.
Wow. That feels like a massive handicap. I mean, if I'm the agent and I can't advise my clients on price, arguably the biggest point of negotiation, and I can't share motivations, how do I even justify my commission or my value? It sounds like I'm just pushing paper.
Look, that's the reality of the limitation. It's a significant shift.
Yeah.
Your expertise moves away from being a sharp negotiator for one side
To what then?
to being an expert manager of complexity, making sure all the timelines are hit, overseeing inspections, ensuring the mountain of disclosures and paperwork, title work, loan documents are handled correctly, efficiently, and legally, keeping the transaction on track and compliant.
So it's about process management and risk reduction, not advocacy.
Exactly. You're facilitating the deal within very strict neutral boundaries.
Okay, let's try to quickly synthesize this for everyone listening, maybe for their study notes. Dual agency, formed when one broker represents both buyer and seller,
Sure.
happens either with one agent doing double duty or two agents under the same brokerage roof.
Correct. The two main ways.
The big consequence, that fiduciary duty of loyalty, terminated,
Gone.
replaced by mandatory written disclosure and consent,
Crucial first step.
and then absolute neutrality, which means zero advice on price and keeping motivations strictly confidential.
That's the core framework. Understanding these legal distinctions, that's really what separates the students who pass from those who might struggle with these questions.
Absolutely. And look, if you are finding this level of deep dive helpful for your study, really getting into the nuts and bolts, be sure to check out our full exam prep course. It's over at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
Yeah, we've got thousands of practice questions there covering all these topics.
Definitely worth checking out.
And hey, here's maybe a final thought for you to kind of chew on as you keep studying, building on what we just talked about.
Okay.
Since a dual agent loses that ability to advise on price, and they have to stay neutral, what specific things, beyond just, handling paperwork and disclosing material facts, what remains the most valuable service they actually provide to both the buyer and the seller?
That's a good one. Thinking beyond just facilitation.
Right. Maybe think about things like risk mitigation or ensuring contractual compliance for both sides equally. Where does their value still lie in that restricted role? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought. We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.